All right, let's take a look at the unemployment figures now with a new odious record being set today. Unemployment, let's bring it up, now standing at 35.3%, which is a new record high. Unemployment rose by 0.4%, you can see, and that relates to the fourth quarter of last year. Now, that's the increase if you measure unemployment quarter on quarter. If you measure year on year, so you're comparing the end of 2021 with the end of 2020, the jump in joblessness in unemployment was even higher at around 3%. Now, the number of discouraged work seekers decreased there by 1.4%. And why is that important? It's important because when people move from being discouraged work seekers, in that they've just given up, to people actively looking for work again, that can actually raise the unemployment rate because they are now seen to be part of the job market or the pool of unemployed, as it were. The number of employed people in South Africa going up to 14.5 million, that's the employed people, 7.9 million are without jobs. Now, 35.3%, that is the highest unemployment rate since the start of the quarterly labour force survey, so therefore on record. Some people believe that an even better definition of unemployment includes all those people who have simply given up looking for work, and then it goes all the way up to 46 or so percent. So we're heading to 50% according to that measure. Joining me now to look at the latest stats is Antswisa Management Group Founding Director Miyelani Mkhabela. Thank you for being with us. As always, Miyelani, things are not getting better and they're actually getting worse. And this time we can't blame COVID, can we?
Look, there are challenges that normally happens in every time. It's not like we are blaming COVID, but COVID had caused problems all over the world. So, departing as we can't blame COVID, I don't think maybe that is the approach that we can use. But what we can say is, what are the things that might need to be done post-COVID? And that is expected from each and every economic planning here.
Well, these are the structural issues that government often mentions that are keeping employment low, meaning they're built into the system and they're quite hard to change. What are the big ones for you?
I didn't get you well there.
What are the big structural issues that you think are playing into unemployment?
Unemployment in South Africa is structural. So it has been there, but what is expected from the ruling party or government is to plan on how to solve that crisis. Livelihood crisis has been like 2022 rated as the greatest risk for South Africa. And then we just have to look at critical opportunities that are there, maybe looking at infrastructure, manufacturing and agriculture as a solution to swallow the unemployment that South Africa is experiencing. But like when you look on the structure of the economy or the reforms, other reforms that are needed, we will need to look at institutional reforms. So that will really assist mainly in all our government departments and other institutions, including state-owned enterprises, to be working effectively as expected. And that is something that probably the past maybe 10 years, things hasn't been going well around that. And, we are expected to have a better pace in solving those problems because the patience of people that are unemployed, which are about, looking at about 8 million people that are unemployed, is a very huge number, and you will need to be creating enough jobs, probably even more than 300,000 jobs a month, and if you need to close that gap in about 5 years. But realistically, the government will be expected to come up with their industrial development zones or special economic zones and make sure that implementation as well take place, because when we continue to be planning at the end of each and every term, the next administration will need to plan as well. So we just find ourselves in planning without implementation.
Yeah.
And I think that is causing so many problems, because we are not moving to implementation, which in the piloting of these strategies and full implementation of these strategies, that's where we'll start to be creating jobs.
Yeah, and like you say, with the pool of unemployed heading to 8 million people, all the things in the news, the attacks on foreigners, competition for jobs, linked to unemployment and linked to an economy that is not growing. If you look more closely at the figures, finally, are there any trends for you? What are the sectors that you're worried about because they're shedding jobs, and are there any sectors that bring us hope?
When you look on the budget as a budget speech, the State of the Nation's address was, very good. But like when you look on the budget speech that seeks to be affirming or confirming the activities, one of the worrying aspect of it is it has much focused on social, like activities or financing social related departments, and the economic cluster or economic development was, funded at the maybe level of number 6 out of all those departments. And you will expect economic development being a priority department, because if the crisis for South Africa is unemployment or livelihood crisis, which is the biggest risk that we have, and the critical aspect that needs to solve that challenge is economic development. And you need to be putting enough money in agriculture, enough money in energy production, enough money in manufacturing, and making sure that it is easier for the mining industry as well to produce affordable, in an affordable level. So when all those bottlenecks are cleared, it will be easy to. But I think South Africa will take advantage of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement and cover supply chain. Supply chain is one of the critical aspects that is needed for the exporting and importing of goods in Africa, and as well trading with the rest of the world. And I think there's a huge gap in that market, and South Africa can take a bigger chunk of it and make it to be a pie that will create as well additional jobs for South Africans.
All right, thank you very much. Antswisa Management Group Founding Director Miyelani Mkhabela, and he's an economist as well, of course.